afternoon. I am having a much more productive day today than I did yesterday, although it was lovely to get some time to just sit and knit in between dye batches. That's what life used to be like before my part-time job that I did, you know, around the kids and stuff like that turned into a full-time job, which I'm definitely not complaining about because it's amazing that I can do this full-time. But yeah, I do miss the days when I used to be able to just, you know, stick a couple of batches of yarn on, sit and knit and relax a little bit. But now it's all go, go, go. Anyway, much more productive. So I've got the final batch. Well, hopefully I'll get the whole of the final batch of the Marvellous Minis Club dyed up today. That's in the pans at the moment. I'm working on my first lot of warping for stripes that I'm taking to Glasgow. Somebody asked actually in the comments the other day, what is warping when I'm talking about self-striping? So basically for my self-striping, and for quite a lot of self-striping, but there's different methods. But for my self-striping, there's a number of processes that are involved. So first of all, I have to cake the yarn. So I just take a normal skein of yarn, the same as all of my other skeins of yarn, and I cake it. I then have to warp it, which is basically involves wrapping it onto my warping board, which is what you can just see at the edge of the camera here. And I have to wrap it in a certain way to create lengths of yarn that I know are a particular length that I can then dye in the particular colours so that when you knit it, it knits up like self-striping. Does that make sense? So basically, there are a number of different ways to do it. Some people use big warping mills, which create one super long skein of yarn, like a 16-metre long skein of yarn, and then they divide that up into sections for the colours. I warp slightly differently. With my warping board, I can create loops. So rather than having one long skein of yarn when it comes off my warping board, I've got like loops of yarn that are all secured. And I know that each of those loops will be a different colour. And each of those loops has the right amount of yarn to work for the different colours. And yeah, basically that's what it is. And then I dye it. I kind of kettle dye it. I think that's the term. I don't know. Anyway, I use saucepans and I put a loop or a section of the yarn in a saucepan with the colour that I want until it exhausts. And then I repeat that for all of the different colours. And then I steam mine afterwards as well, but I don't think I mentioned this the other day, I can't remember, just to make sure they're doubly set. And then I put it back, once it's dry, I put it back on my warping board and I hand wind it into my gobstopper balls from there. So yeah, lots and lots involved in the process of self-striping. It's not just like other yarn where you take your skein of yarn, you stick it in your pan, you put some colour on it and you leave it to dry. Yeah, much more steps involved. I've run out of ties. But yeah, so much more productive. I've got, I think about a third of the yarn warped for Glasgow now. So that's really good. The boys have got trampolining this afternoon. They go to trampolining, it's at like 4 o'clock. Which is quite nice because I get an hour where I can sit in the car with some knitting while they're occupied, and yeah, I'm quite enjoying it now that it's back. Jasper's only just started. Arthur's been going for a while, although yeah, he got a little bit of last term before the summer holidays, but obviously there was a massive gap where he wasn't going because of COVID and all of that kind of stuff. But now that Jasper's started school, he can join the same trampolina class. Which is really nice because they both go at the same time, which makes life a lot easier for me. I'm just thinking, what else was I going to talk about? I can't remember. There were a few things. So I shared a photograph the other day of our board games shelf on Instagram, and loads of people were really interested in the collection of board games we've got, and were wondering whether I would be willing to do like a little talk about some of my favourites and stuff like that. I've touched on some of our board games in Vlogmases before, but it's been a while, so I might do that a little bit later on. Yeah, and then I'm sure there was something else that I was going to talk about and I've forgotten what it was. If it comes to me, I will talk about that as well later. But right, now I need to cut some more ties so I can finish tying this one up. And then I need to go and do some work in my office. But our next door neighbours on that side, not this side, are currently pressure washing the path down the side of their house, which kind of, we've got the alleyway that goes between our two houses. We have half of it, they have half of it. There's a fence down the middle. They're pressure washing their path, and it's right next to the garage, and it's really, really, really loud and really noisy, and I don't really want to sit in the garage with the sound of the pressure washer going. So I'm hoping he'll finish soon so I can go and get a few bits done in the garage. Right, the boys are at trampolining, so I now have an hour sat in the car waiting for them to finish, which is fine. I don't mind it in the slightest. It's just one of those awkward places where it's a bit too far to drive home, because by the time I've driven home kind of 15 minutes, especially at this kind of 4-5 o'clock kind of time of day, by the time I've driven home 15 minutes, I'm gonna have to be like almost time to turn around and come back and get them. So yeah, I sit in the car and do some knitting. But something arrived in the post today that I have brought with me to have a little look through, and I thought I would share with you. And that is my copy of Morit Magazine. This is the first edition, and it's a crochet magazine, basically. It's brand new. I joined the Kickstarter for it, so I've got kind of one of the Kickstarter contents. So the aim is for it to kind of be a modern crochet magazine, if that makes sense. And I'm really excited by it. It is absolutely gorgeous. I really haven't had much chance to open it and look through it at all yet, so I can't really tell you much, but yeah, I think it's just nice to see crochet being recognised a little bit more. I mean, as I'm sure many of you will know, my crochet skills are still quite lacking, but it's something that I'm really trying to work on. So I thought I would give it a go, basically. But there are some gorgeous patterns in here by the look at it, just as I'm kind of flicking through. Yeah, some really, really gorgeous crochet patterns, and I'm excited to have a little look. I'm not sure when, ooh, that's pretty. I'm not sure when the book, the magazine, becomes available to purchase just generally. I'm not sure. If I can find out, I will pop it up on the screen so that you can see. But I know that this is kind of the Kickstarter editions starting to come out. So yeah, that's exciting. So I'm going to have a flick through this, but I also bought some knitting with me. I've got my gnome, because the third clue has been released for the gnome today. And you saw my little bits, my little magical mystery bits for clue 1. And then the clue 2, I'm sure I'm going to get some really weird looks. There are people dropping their kids off late in the car park and I'm sat here talking to my phone. The second clue was this little bit, which I think this is the start of the hat. But it's got this fun little, what's it called? A wedge? No, welt, that's the term. A fun little welt at the beginning. I've never knit a welt before, so that was quite interesting. So yeah, I might sit and do some of this and have a flick through that magazine while I wait for the boys. And then when we get home, I will show you the board games and I will have a little chat about the board games. Right, while we're waiting on dinner, I thought I would talk board games for a second. Arthur wants to share his favourite board games from our collection first. So I will flip round in a second for Arthur so that he can show you his.
These are my favourite board games.
So what's this one?
This one's Dungeon Mayhem.
Dungeon Mayhem. Dungeon Mayhem is like a Dungeons and Dragons card game. You play as the different classes.
It's standard pack.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Extension pack.
Yeah, it's good fun, isn't it? A good one for kids as well. Right, next favourite?
D&D.
D&D, yeah. You've got this. These are Arthur's dice for Dungeons and Dragons. So
if you see them, I'll get mad at you.
We're going to play a little bit tonight. What about any other of the board games that are your favourite, or can Mummy share hers?
I like this one.
Concept. Yeah, this is an interesting board game, actually. I don't know if anyone has heard of this one. Our box is filthy. Yeah, it's called Concept, and basically you use images and pictures to try and explain what your word on your card is, but you can't talk. You can just use concepts, basically.
Yes and no.
It's really good fun. One of my favourites from our shelf. Right, I'll try that again now that the boys are distracted and not getting in the way. One of my favourite ones from our selection is this one, Betrayal at House on the Hill. Basically, you build a haunted house using different room cards, and you the first part of the game is you exploring the haunted house, and then at some point, when you hit a certain number of something, a haunt begins. And the thing I love is the fact that the haunt can be completely different every time. So sometimes one of you turns traitor, sometimes something big comes and takes over the house, sometimes you're fighting aliens. Lots and lots of different things can happen, which makes it really, really fun. For a slightly less niche fantasy game, I can't get it out, Sagrada is really, really good. It's beautiful. I can't get it out, otherwise I would show you the front of the box. Basically, you use coloured dice that you have to put in a little kind of special dice tray that's inspired by the stained glass windows and the kind of the Sagrada Familia cathedral, the Gaudi Cathedral. And it's just really pretty because you get to play with lots and lots of coloured dice, and it's really good fun. What else have we got? Oh, Dinosaur Island is a great one if you are a fan of Jurassic Park. Basically, you build a dinosaur park. You basically build Jurassic Park, but obviously they can't call it that because of trademarks and all of that kind of thing. This one's quite good with kids. Arthur is 7, and with a bit of help, he can play this one quite happily. Machikori is just a fun kind of... It's just fun. I don't know how to explain it. It's like a card game, and you're kind of trying to build cities by collecting resources and stuff like that. Ticket to Ride and Catan are very good family popular ones. Catan's good fun, and it works well with kids. Ticket to Ride is brilliant with kids as well. What else have we got down here? Another one of my favourites, because zombies, and I'm obsessed with zombies. Basically, The Walking Dead in a board game. But again, they can't call it that. Pandemic, which surprisingly we haven't played in the last couple of years. Azul is beautiful as well, actually. You're basically building a tiled mosaic wall with Azul, with beautiful tiles, and it's just to do with kind of putting the tiles in the right place and scoring points. Some good old-fashioned Scattergrees and Articulate are always good fun. Forbidden Desert and Forbidden Island. We don't have Forbidden Island, but it's a similar concept. These are really, really good with kids. Arthur absolutely loves that one. Really simple to play, really fun. Sushi Go is good fun as well. That's really good fun with quite a large number of people, because it can go quite fast and it's quite chaotic. And then what else have we got? Oh, Carcassonne, of course. That's actually Arthur's copy of Carcassonne, which I'm surprised is on our shelves. Usually it has to live in his bedroom. building cities and scoring for roads and stuff like that. And then Dice Forge is quite fun. It's quite simple. Let's see if I can get the back. Basically, you build your dice and you roll your dice as you go along, and you're just scoring points. But you get to change the faces of the dice, which is always good fun. Anyway, I don't feel like I've explained any of those very well, but yeah, there's a selection of board games for you to have a little look up and try out. And yeah, if you've got any questions about specific board games that you can see, then feel free to send me a message and I will try and explain in more detail and try and let you know which ones are good for kids.